My name's Kennedy Puckett. I'm a musician, and before we start, I would love it if you would go and check me out on Spotify and also Instagram and TikTok. Those links will be in the description of this video. Now, today, there are semi-sad but semi-celebratory vibes. Not for the death, but for the life of Mr. Kris Kristofferson, who unfortunately passed away recently at 88 years old. Now, just to give you a quick rundown before we look into some of the songs that he's written and just some of the incredible stories that this man has lived through in his life. Take a shot every time I mention the word life or lived. Now, you might know him for the song Sunday Morning Coming Down, which he wrote for Johnny Cash, or Riders in the Sky. But personally, I didn't even realize until I started doing some research on him that I've been listening to a song by him for my entire life, which I'm absolutely in love with. It's called Me and Bobby McGee, which he wrote for Janis Joplin. Of course, that's not all. You know, he was in movies, TV shows, and just generally speaking, he had a really crazy life. So let's get into some of the stories before we kind of go through his discography and just celebrate the man that was the man, the myth, the legend, Kris Kristofferson. His first popular piece as a songwriter was called For the Good Times, which he wrote for Ray Price in 1970. Amazingly enough, that was able to reach top 40 charts that same year. And then later that year, he wrote Sunday Morning Coming Down for Johnny Cash, which, by the way, became a country #1 hit, which is absolutely incredible. Another thing that this article points out from the New York Times is that he was a very romantic kind of person, a very poetic songwriter. So if you take in the song Sunday Morning Coming Down, the idea that he was feeling nothing short of dying was a really expressive way to convey not only the feeling of coming down from a hangover, but also feelings of depression or loss or what have you. And then with Me and Bobby McGee, one of my favorite lines in songwriting history is, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing ain't worth nothing, but it's free. That strikes me as a very profound message, the idea that the only thing that you can have in this world without responsibility is nothing. And so even if you're going the easy route to get something, maybe it's easy to get, but that's where the value stops. And I love the fact that he was able to convey that into such a sort of like Bonnie and Clyde without the robbing of banks type ballad. 3 more of his songs to hit the country music chart #1 spot include Help Me Make It Through the Night, One Day at a Time, and Why Me? Which, for most artists, getting just one song in the #1 spot in the country music charts is a life-changing event. But for him, he was just collecting these #1 spots like they were Pokemon cards or something. Next up, I wanted to go through some of his discography and kind of point out songs that are, just genuine American classics. So we have Why Me, Highwayman, I Know... Right, sorry. So we have Why Me, Highwayman, Riders in the Sky, Sunday Morning Coming Down, as we already talked about, Bobby McGee, Loving Her Was Easy, For the Good Times. Something I thought was very interesting is I didn't know that Ring of Fire was a Kris Kristofferson song. I love that song. I've been singing that for my entire life. Folsom Prison Blues, really? And A Boy Named Sue. That's that's wild. So him and Johnny Cash were obviously really good friends as songwriters. And by the way, guys, a lot of this stuff, I'm learning this with you guys. This is not all stuff that I knew before. I mean, I did a little bit of research before making this video. However, a big part of this channel is my genuine reaction to things. So if I do a whole bunch of research on the topic, especially something like this where it's a little bit more lighthearted, I'm just trying to celebrate this guy's life and his legacy that he left behind. I think it's really important that we all sort of go through it and have a genuine human experience together. Moving forward, apparently he was a bit of a badass himself, as he apparently took control of a National Guard helicopter at one point just so that he could show Johnny Cash some recordings at his home. If I'm not mistaken, he also joined the U.S. Army after attending Oxford University. Wow, that's incredible. And then after the Army, he moved to Nashville to pursue his dreams of songwriting. So he definitely would have had some kind of experience with at least the National Guard. I don't know about the helicopter part. Apparently, he didn't actually know that Janis Joplin had recorded his song Me and Bobby McGee just a few days before she died. Wow. And apparently he once confronted Toby Keith out of anger, saying, "Have you ever taken another man's life and then cashed the check your country gave to you? No, you have not." According to, whose account do you believe? So some of these might be a little embellished. I'm not gonna lie, I full-heartedly believe the helicopter story, just because I feel like that'd be kind of hard to make up, and you'd have to get a grip on a lot of different people who would have to deny it. Finally, I just wanted to go through some of the movies because he's also considered a movie star, not just a rock star or a country star, and just because a lot of musicians star in movies, but I wanted to see exactly how many this guy had to star in to be considered a movie star, and it's quite a few. Blade, A Star Is Born, Convoy, Blade 1, oh, okay, cool. Blade Trinity, Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid, Payback, Planet of the Apes, Harry Dean Stanton, Partly Fiction, Millennium, Stagecoach, Heaven's Gate. His last on-screen appearance actually came in 2018 in a film called Blaze. Look, it's no secret that rock stars and movie stars are hugely respected figures in our culture, and for a good reason too. Because I believe that, culture is an incredibly important part of the human experience as a whole. So music and art, movies and television, and any media, and even books and poetry and that sort of thing. It's all very important, and it adds so much to our day-to-day lives, more than just cheap entertainment or something like that. Movies, and in my case, because I'm a musician, songs in particular can really touch us in the deepest parts of our soul. And to find out that a lot of my favorite songs, like Riders on the Storm, Highwaymen, Ring of Fire, Bobby McGee, Folsom Prison Blues, it's incredible. I never knew that he wrote those songs. And finding out now that he was the one who wrote all that, the only thing that I can say is thank you, And I think if you love music, or if you care about, music in general, and you didn't know that, or you did know that, you take a look at this now and just sort of say thank you in remembrance of Kris Kristofferson. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this video up, and I'm going to put on my favorite Kris Kristofferson song, Bobby McGee, and I'm going to edit this video and just listen to some of his music. Maybe some stuff that I haven't ever heard before. I don't think I've ever heard the song City of New Orleans, or Loving Her Was Easier. Even the title of that song has a nice ring to it. But I implore you to join me, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.